This is Race for the Roster, and surely this week, Stephen Caldwell locks Buchanan into his starting 11. So here we go with this week's Race for the Roster, where Stephen Caldwell has the weekly chance of not only predicting Canada's squad for the World Cup, but also the starting 11 for the opening game of the tournament in Toronto. And now we really know that Jesse Marsch, the Canada head coach, is paying attention, because he was on TSN radio this week and he had this to say about Stevie's race for the roster. I think by making one or two comments, I can alter Stephen's lineup at any time.
Well, he kind of can, because it's his projection that I'm trying to do, not exactly my squad, what I would pick. So, yeah, I'm listening to him keenly. I asked him that at BMO Field, a year out from the World Cup, and I'm listening to everything he says, and I've got him on speed dial sometimes to check if someone's moved a little bit closer up than maybe I think they should have.
I think maybe now Jesse Marsch might be throwing you off in a little few comments that he makes.
Some games.
Here's the current projection, the 26 for 26 that Stevie has representing Canada next summer. Your locks to start that opening game: Jonathan David, Davies, Eustachio, Bombito and Johnston. But the other 6 spots are open for competition. Let's get to this weekend's headlines. Jonathan David marked his Serie A debut with a goal in the 60th minute against Parma, becoming the first Canadian to ever score for Italian giant Juventus, and just the second Canadian to score in Serie A, joining Buchanan. Meanwhile, in his first start since his permanent move to Villarreal, Buchanan scored a hat-trick against Girona. He's just the second Canadian to record a hat-trick in one of Europe's top 5 leagues after Jonathan David. Buchanan was a standout for Canada this summer, but is still not a lock to start next summer's opening game, according to Stevie's projection right now. More concern surrounding Ismail Kone after a nightmare Serie A debut for Sassuolo. He was sent off in the 79th minute against Napoli after receiving his second yellow card. He was also the lowest rated player in the game. After scoring his first goal since May last week, Jacob Schaffelberg collected 2 assists against Orlando. Schaffelberg starting for the second straight week, this time on the right side. And bad news for Alistair Johnston, who will miss 3 months now with a hamstring injury. He joins Davies and Bombito as key Canadians that will need to work their way back from a significant injury ahead of the World Cup. And that injury to Alistair Johnston certainly makes things interesting, Stevie, in the defensive position. Also might have a knock-on in midfield as well, because Nico Segur has filled in at right back. Jesse Marsch has said he prefers Nico Segur in midfield as well. So what knock-on effect is this going to have?
It could be significant. They've got to go with someone else and make sure they have a deputy for Alistair Johnston. And it's a worrying injury, a hamstring that's 12 weeks reportedly from Brendan Rodgers, the Celtic FC head coach, is significant. He's got to get fit again. He's got to test it. He's got to come back and feel confident with it. So, 12 weeks might be the length of the injury, but you're looking at another 5-6 weeks until he's hopefully up to speed, and then maybe you re-injure it. So it's a concern. You've got to keep an eye on that, and Jesse Marsch will be very worried about a type of injury like that to one of his key players.
And you currently have Segur as a starter in your midfield position, so maybe that opens the door for Kone.
It does. It opens the door for Kone. It opens the door for Saliba. It opens the door for Schwanier, who have all got moves, have all went to different clubs. Obviously, Schwanier came back to MLS. But you would think they're all going to play minutes, so there's real competition there. He's liked Schwanier in the past. He likes his solidity and his consistency. But for me, Saliba or Kone have the most to gain, because they're outstanding players if they can add bits to their game. Young players still learning the game. If they can add the bits that we hope they can at Anderlecht and Sassuolo, then I think they'll be in prime position fighting each other for that spot.
Let's get to the form tracker next then, and it's an analytical average of each player's last 5 performances. With Johnston out, we move Segur back as an option at right back, even though Stevie still has him starting in midfield right now. Speaking to The Athletic last week, Marsch said that Luc de Fougerolles is the team's 3rd centre-back and will compete for a starting spot. Derek Cornelius appears to be out of favour at Marseille right now, Stevie. It's not started either of their matches this season. What do you think needs to happen for Luc de Fougerolles to go from being that 3rd choice to being one of Jesse Marsch's starting 2 at the back?
He's got to keep playing. He's got to show that he's capable of playing at that level. He's found his first team move, and he's never had that before. And so the jump that we think he'll take by playing regularly, if that comes and you start to see improvements in his game and more experience gained, then I think he's really going to push Derek Cornelius close. Does Cornelius move before the end of the window? That's another thing we've got to think about, because I don't see him getting a lot of minutes at Marseille. So it's an important battle. Bombito is set in that position, but there's a 1A and a 1B for me to play alongside him, and De Fougerols is tracking upwards really quickly.
There might be a few things that are keeping Jesse Marsch up at night right now. You mentioned Cornelius, one of them. Maxime Crépeau was benched by Portland this week in favour of James Pantemis, who collected his 4th clean sheet of the season. Stefan Eustáquio is struggling for minutes at Porto. There are rumours of a possible move for Eustáquio there. Daniel Jebison surprising many by returning early from an injury this weekend, getting 20 minutes off the bench for Preston. And maybe the biggest concern of all, Kyle Larin, who was once again not in the matchday squad for Mallorca. And Jesse Marsch appearing on the Footy Prime podcast this week and had the following to say regarding Canada's second all-time leading scorer. He said, "I find it very disappointing and frustrating the way a lot of Canadian fans treat Kyle. He gets criticised by too many people. I really wish people would appreciate more of what he's brought to the programme." He went on to call Larin Canada's most well-rounded striker. What do you make of Jesse Marsch coming to Kyle Larin's defence like this?
I'm not surprised. I think he has to. I think internally he's probably having some more frank discussions with Kyle Larin, because we all know that he's got to play football. He's got to get more minutes. But I agree with what he's saying, Luke. As you know, I've still got him in my starting 11, because I think when you look at all parts of his game and the fact that he's done it at the highest level, I've still got him in that starting position. But he must leave Mallorca. He has to find a move at the end of this summer window. Otherwise, he's likely sitting for another 3 or 4 months, and that's going to really affect his game. We've saw when he doesn't play enough in the past that he's out of rhythm. He's a player that needs to play. He's a big guy. He's got a big body. He's got to be in rhythm. He's got to play matches. He's got to get significant minutes to be at his best when he's on the field.
So after Tejan Buchanan scored a hat-trick in La Liga, this is the big race for the roster moment where Stevie locks him into the starting 11.
No, not yet. Not yet. Listen, first of all, the significance of scoring a hat-trick in La Liga is unbelievable. Amazing achievement for Tejan Buchanan.
But not good enough for you.
It's one game. It's one game. I want to see him play 6, 7, 8 games. I want to see how he does in the September window. I'm not locking him in yet, but in his best form, and he's in his best form at the minute, he's absolutely starting for Jesse Marsch, but I'm going to hold off on it for another week.
There we go. Caldwell says he's absolutely starting, but not absolutely enough to lock him in.
He's got to keep playing.
As for this week's key Canadians, we know it will be 2 Canadian keepers starting against each other this weekend. We just don't know which ones. It is Minnesota against Portland for the 2nd time this season, and on the eve of the international break as well. Will it be Maxime Crépeau or James Pantemis that is going up against Dane St. Clair? We will find out on Saturday night. And check back with us next week for more of Stephen Caldwell's race for the roster. And if Tejan Buchanan gets another hat-trick, presumably that might be enough for Stevie.
I might lock him then if he gets another hat-trick at the weekend.
Join us again next week.